Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. My opponent's gone first. I have a balanced rack, but no bingo here. I need to consider the double-double lane in row E through the O. But I can't see anything there. I certainly want to play off the G and the U. I can do that with Gub. The C is quite a useful bingo-y tile, so I'll keep that. So this is a reasonable rack lead. 14 points, not great. But I don't think there's a bingo here. That's much better. I have acidosis in row H through the A of Tonga. I haven't seen a 7-letter bingo yet, but this looks a promising set of tiles. I have the out prefix in row D. I'm wondering about discos ending ES. That may be one of the new words that's come in which case I can pluralize Tonga or play in columns 7 or 9. Gub takes nothing in front, Tonga only takes an S afterwards. Do I have anything through BO in row E? It's slightly easy to look for 9-letter words when you have 2 S's, because you can forget about one of the S's and look for an 8-letter play that's pluralizable. But I can't see anything there. I'm wondering if acidosis has an anagram. It's not coming to mind. Now, what else do I need to consider? I think discos only plays in columns 7 and 9 and row I, all of which could be scuppered by a play through the A, as could acidosis. Onto a T, I would have scodiust and cestoids through it. Can't see anything through the N or G of Tonga. Great, acidosis remains playable. And just 7 points for my opponent, so this should give me a decent lead. 86 points, fantastic. That's not too bad. There could be a bingo here. I think through an R I would have brainily. Quite a few floaters to consider in the bingo I've just played. Certainly with the Y, I'm looking for bingos ending LY and ILY as a priority. Well, I can't see anything through those floaters. So I'll be looking to play off the Y and an I. Well, hopefully the B as well. I could play Bialy, or rather Bialy would sort my rack out. There may not be anywhere to play that. 18 points for my opponent. And my opponent has taken out this triple letter square, which I had been considering for my Y, but I'm not sure I would have been able to use it to good effect. I don't think Sibyllian is good, otherwise that could play. Now I could play gaily in row D, beginning with the G of Rogered. That would leave a decent rack leave of BIN. 26 points is a good score. What's bad is that it provides a scoring opportunity down from the triple word square at A15, but since I'm covering the double letter square, that's not likely to be massively expensive. I'm wondering about Bialys in column 13 ending YS. It would be immensely annoying if that came off. But if it's good, I think it's going to be a lot better than Gaily. 30 points, but am I confusing this with something else? Let's find out. If it stays on, I've drawn the blank. Just waiting to see if this is challenged. I've also drawn the second Y and a U, so this isn't a great rack. There could be a bingo here. Probably not a 7. Still holding my breath over Bialys. But it wasn't a complete punt. I think it's good, and if it's not good, there's something else which I'm confusing it with. Now I'm going to struggle to play off N, U and Y, but that's what I want to do to sort the rack out. Actually, I can play young in row C onto the G of Gub. That would leave the best possible rack leave. Fantastic. Bialys stays on. Has my opponent provided anything? Wine does take front hooks, but nothing that I've got. Column 15. Well, I think the best I can do is Yon. 28, but that keeps the U, and given that I've got the blank, I really want to sort this rack out as soon as possible, and bingo. Now, what about a bingo through the S of acidosis, the final S? Actually, there is a 7-letter bingo here. I'm pretty sure unnoisy is good. That doesn't play. Now, what about you, Onimin? Wow. Is that good? You, Onimin. I think it's good. Let's find out. A bingo through the S would be a lot better. Better score and less dangerous, but I can't see such a bingo. Let's see if this stays on. If it does, I have bingo-y letters, but duplicates, so there may not be a bingo. Great, challenged, and it stays on. Fantastic. Now, what to do with this rack? I've got a good lead now, 150 points. Quite a few floaters in Yuanimin. That's one of the front hooks for wine. 44 points, a good score for my opponent. Now, from a T, I would have tied line. There's no T. Because I've got 4 vowels, I'm mainly looking at the consonants on the board for bingos. So there's the C of acidosis, where I would have the ice prefix. Can't see anything there. And then there's the N, M, and Y of Yuanimin. Well, the Y isn't particularly helpful. Except I could play needily. I don't particularly want to turn over masses of tiles. In fact, what I could do is I'd... Well, before playing it, let me consider its score and alternatives. So IDE at the bottom of column 15 stops my opponent bingoing through any of these bottom 3 tiles. In particular, it takes out the 9 timer. 22 points, not great, but I have no scoring tiles. It sorts out both duplicates, so my rack leave of E, I, L, N is okay. Now, what would be better than that? Certainly a 4-letter play would be. And I have one. I have Ida, which is going to score a lot more. ILN, not great, because L and N have negative synergy. But they are bingo-y tiles, and the C goes well with the L. Now, before I play Ida, am I sure there isn't a bingo through an N or an M? N looks unlikely. That would be 3 pairs of duplicate tiles. What about the M? Can't see anything there. It's a shame to burn both E's. The E is a great tile. But for a big enough score, it's always worth playing your good tiles. And 34 is a good score. Not great. Not great. I have the W for score, but I'm unlikely to have a lot of options on this with this rack. I've got Whiling in row C, which isn't going to score very much, but it is going to sort my rack out. And by turning over 5 tiles, it expedites the end of the game and increases my chances of drawing some of the good tiles that are still in the bag, such as the blank, 2 S's, Z and X. Plenty of A's to come. Only 4 E's. I've got a 130-point lead. My opponent's on turn, so I'm in a reasonable position. Whiling, however, is very open, and by open I mean that I'm providing 4 floaters for my opponent. 20 points is an okay score. 29 points for my opponent. Die takes nothing in front. Judd takes an O after it. I don't have a word ending O-M-I. I'm looking in row O in case I've got a non-bingo playing 6 tiles ending N-E. So I've got line as an ending, but iron line not good. So do I play Whiling? There's very little options up in this top right of the board. It's all pretty tight, and Judd and Ida have completely closed out the openness of Yuanimin. So this board is open, but I think I'm so far ahead that I can survive. So the board's pretty closed. I'm sufficiently far ahead that I can survive opening it. Whiling 20. Well, that looks a little better. It's nice to see one of the E's. I can't see a 7 with this rack. And I'm just looking at the floaters in Whiling to see if I've got an 8. But I can't see one. Can't see anything ending N-E in row O. I do have the H for score, and I will be looking to play off one of the R's. And with A-E-O, it would be good to jettison the O as well. So I'm looking for a play which plays off H-O and R. I haven't seen one yet. I could play Howler in column 2, but I think that is too open. It opens up a 9-timer in row A, and it opens up column 1. So although opening 2 openings is better than opening 1, it's probably better to open none. Now, where can I play an H and an R? I don't have to play the H, but I'm thinking that an H play is likely to be needed for score. I could play cholera in row 9. Just looking there to see if there's an 8-letter play, but I don't think so. 20 points for my opponent, and he's opened up row A. So I could play Ralph. That's got some merit. 30 points, nice score, keeping EOR, which isn't great. It's vowel heavy. But let me consider the remaining vowels. 26 tiles in the bag, so 33 tiles unplayed. Only 12 vowels, so actually a vowel-heavy rack leave wouldn't be bad. And I do want to play up here because this is pretty much my opponent's best spot for catching me if I were to leave it open. Ralph does take ing, so Ralph could be extended. Am I missing something better? I think something better would need to be in the same spot. Well, I could play Fola. And maybe I should. No, because that would keep 2 R's. I feel there is a better play here. But I'm going to go with this. Ralph for 30. Great, that looks pretty balanced. Onto an E, I would have overtake. Through an S, I would have the word sack. 24 points for my opponent. And he's provided a really hot spot, row H. If I can get one of my high-scoring tiles, my V or my H, on this double letter square, I'll be looking at a 30 to 40 point play. And I'm just looking around to see if I've got a bingo first, but very few. I thought for a moment this N and the E gave me overtaken, and it would have done if they'd been the other way around. So I do have the over prefix. Takeover is also good, but the E of muted is not available. In fact, there are no floating E's available. So I can't see a bingo here, so do I have a 5 or 6 letter play in row H? Well, I have Trove. 36 points. That's pretty good because it's retaining a vowel-heavy rack leave, and it's retaining the K for score. I'd get a higher score by playing the V and the K. I can't see a way of doing that. And given my lead of 100 points, it's good to keep scoring 30 or 40 points if I'm not bingoing. Yes. Yes, 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 and more yes. Evoke. Well, and a fabulous rack leave. I would have been really disappointed if I'd missed that. 51 points. Perfect. Well, that is pretty grim. I kept a fabulous rack leave, ART, and I picked up a dreadful set of consonants. However, I've got the A and the T to make cats, which may be playable. Can't see anywhere for it. The remaining tiles are pretty bingo-y. And there are bingo lanes open on this board, so my opponent could well bingo. Now maybe I should change. I think that probably turns on whether I can play the Q. No U's left. U's on the board, not accessible. Where are they? Muted, Ute, Judd. Where's the fourth one? Oh, euonyment. Yep. Not accessible. 9 vowels now out of 20, so the unseen tiles are pretty evenly balanced as a result of my drawing 4 consonants. Now I could play wrapped in column 6, making evoker dar. I have a slight doubt about evoker. I should look around for eyes, for places to play chi. Okay, my opponent has bingoed, 6 tiles in the bag. I'm now 80 points ahead. If my opponent bingos again, it could be a very close end game. So, where can I play my cue? I can play cats in row N. And that has the advantage of obstructing or taking out 2 pretty useful floaters in the S and the R. But what it does allow is my opponent to have a high-scoring play in row O, because cats would place the A over this double letter square. So can I do better than that? I've got 8 minutes left. Where can I play my cue? Now through an N, I could play trank. No N's available. Is there any point in holding on to the cue? If I drew an I could play chi in column 8. Tricky rat to deal with. 6 tiles in the bag. Cats doesn't feel great, but it might be the right play. It'll be certainly good to get rid of the cue. Another problem with playing it is that I'm keeping 4 consonants, so there's a risk I will have only 1 vowel or no vowels next go. So, do I go with this? The floating E of sealers is no use to me. Well, I think I will. I note that cade is also a possibility across here, but that's no better. That's keeping, in fact, it's worse. It's keeping 5 consonants. Yeah, I'm going to go with this. Well, I do draw a vowel, which is better than none. Now, having said that my A is dangerous over this double letter square, in terms of plays in row O, there are no high-scoring tiles which can go underneath it, so it can't be as, or won't be as bad as it could be if there were such tiles still unplayed. So, what am I going to do with my X? 3 tiles in the bag. I could play pox in column 3, which would hang on to my vowel, which may be quite precious. I could play, 38 points. That's all my opponent was able to achieve. I can see what he's got left, which is 6 tiles, so he's definitely not bingoing. He's got the Z, which is a good scoring tile. I've got 5 minutes on my clock. Now, I was mentioning extirp down through this E, or indeed through the E of sealers. What would that leave me with on my rack? CR. So I could play cram or arc. So that certainly is an out in 2, which is good. Is there an out in 2 which scores more? I could play prex in row L, keeping crit. I could then play citer in column 1. But I'm struggling to see or arctic in row J. So that's better. $26 points for prex. Is there an even higher score available? Well, I think that's good enough. Now, the only other point I need to consider before playing is whether there's a massive score for my opponent's Z that I ought to be blocking. Prax takes a Y, but there are no Ys unplayed. The Z can go over this O, but that's all it can do. It can't score twice, so I think there aren't any Z plays. So I'm going with this. So I have Citer in column 1. I have Arctic in row J. Is there anything better? Various anagrams of Citer. So there's Trice, which scores more. 24 points for my opponent. Arctic remains available. Has my opponent provided any new openings? Do I have a front extension for Ozone, even if it doesn't use all 4 tiles? No, I don't. And I don't have a 5-letter play onto the O. So I think this is best. Arctic for 13. Just wait for my opponent to formally end the game, which he does. And the final score, 314 to my opponent, 403 to me. A winning margin of 89 points. So a big, big win. Let's see what I missed. It was my opponent to go first. He played Tonga. This was my rack. No bingo here. And I played Gub for the rack, partly for the rack leave, DECS, and certainly that rack leave is a lot better than all of these, and none of the scores down here is more than 20. So although Gub is scoring up to 6 points less, I think the rack leave justifies it, especially retention of the E, which is worth about 3 or 4 points. This was my opponent's rack. He played Fee, and now keeping that good rack leave paid off because I had Acidosis and Discos was the only other playable bingo. This was my opponent's rack. That looks quite promising. Ostriga, difficult one to spot. He played Rogered, and this was my rack. And Bialis was good, and looks like it was best. My opponent's rack, he played Wine. And now, Ionimin was best, but also unyoking playable onto this G of Tonga. I don't think I properly considered that as a bingo lane. I may have been tempted by Younging if I had seen it. Anyway, I didn't, and I did spot Ionimin, so delighted to have spotted that. My opponent's rack. He plays Moth, and now I played Ida at L15, and that looks fine. My opponent's rack, he played Judd, and now I hit a tricky rack with limited options. What did I do? Well, I think I played Wiling for 20. Yeah, and that looks fine. Lowing, a better rack leave. IR is better than OR, but Lowing takes some front hooks, which I wouldn't want to do because that would open up column 1. Now, this looks pretty good for my opponent, but he doesn't have a bingo. And this is my rack. And I played Ralph for 30, keeping EOR, and actually that looks fine, especially with the vowel shortage in the bag. This is my opponent's rack. Does he have a bingo? He doesn't. He plays Muted. And now, look at that. Evoker was good, and I should have played it. As well as scoring 3 more points and helping to expedite the end of the game, it would have taken out column 6 as a bingo lane. But I had some doubt about it and played Evoke, which was also fine, but not perfect. My opponent's rack, and all of his plays were in column 6. So if I had played Evoker, he may have been struggling to find a bingo. I'm surprised. This looks a great rack. It looks like it would go through several of the tiles in Evoke. Maybe it would, and these are just the highest scoring bingos rather than all the bingos. And now my rack becomes horrendous. Fortunately, I have an 80-point lead. Let's see what's being suggested here. N3 cats, that was my play. Yeah, and it's fine. I think all of the other options retain the Q, and I really see no advantage in keeping hold of it. If the Q, although I do have QI, if I draw an I, it's not certain I will draw an I, and the Q, if it ends up being stuck on my rack, could cost me 20 points. So I'm content with cats. My opponent was able to play Fein, but that's fine because I'm still 60 points ahead, and he has to leave himself with only 6 tiles in order to play that. So by playing Fein, he knows he can't bingo, and basically, although he scores well, he is committing himself to losing the game, which he probably was going to do anyway. Now, this was interesting. I was looking for a 2-move out, and the suggested options here don't really take that into account. Now, I didn't... Retrix, that looks nice. Where's that playing from? 1G. Okay, Retrix down here and through this E, so not getting doubled. 17 points. And clearly the P can be played off. Well, I think Prex is better than that, even though Retrix looks quite fancy. And the moves which are scoring more than Prex don't allow me to go out next go. So I think Prex is best. Now, what could my opponent have done here? Well, not much better than he actually did do. Apart from Zoe down here. And finally, Arctic was the highest scoring outplay. So that was the end of that. A satisfying win. Delighted to have spotted Acidosis and more so Euonymin, which is a really tricky word to spot. And overall, quite an interesting game and a challenging, or a somewhat challenging end game, finding Prex and Arctic. Now, I'm off to Perth in a few days for the World Scrabble Championships, so I will be taking a 2-week break from publishing these videos, but when I return, the usual cycle will return of 2 videos a week. So I will see you when I get back from Perth. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and got something out of it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.